For a few years now, I've been looking for one of these plants. Now, its fancy name is, I'll get this wrong, Carapegia woodii, I think. More commonly known as string of hearts, because it's a trailing plant and the little leaves look like little hearts. Now, recently I picked up this little pot. I don't normally bother picking pots up like this, but you can see it has 3 little holes in it. And that's so that you can hang this up, which is ideal for a plant like this. I've also got quite a lot of these wool yarns, which are spares that I bought for a tapestry kit, and quite a lot of the colours, like this one, simply aren't used in the kit. This needs some new hanging strings, and this needs using up. So that seems like a good idea to me. Picked out 3 colours that I like, and I've pulled out just the colours in these flowers on the glazing. It doesn't really make much difference what colours you use, it's all down to personal preference. When you turn these into balls of wool, which makes them a little bit easier to handle when you're doing crochet, it does tell you on the label, don't remove the band, this piece, pull the long end, which is here, because when you pull that, it just pulls it out from the inside of the skein and doesn't knot. So I use that to help me make a ball of wool. So all I've got is I hold what will be the ball in one hand and then just run the string around. This has got quite long now, so turn it around and go the other way. Try not to do that. You just keep turning it around as you go until all the wool is wound up. You can get wool winders, there's various tools out there for doing this. I don't have one, and this is such a small quantity I don't really mind. All of my materials sorted out. I'm using the 3 yarns together to make one string. I'm not entirely sure if I'll have enough of all these 3 together to do each one in the same colour. That's okay, that won't matter for this project. The first thing you need to do is make a loop with the end of your yarn. You want a fairly long tail, and you need a crochet hook that's the right size. This one is a 3.5. These are UK sizes, and you want to make sure that the crochet hook is small enough to go through the hole, but you want it close to the right size. You don't want a tight fit, but you want it fairly close, because when you make the chain you want it to be a suitable size. So put your crochet hook through there and through the loop of your yarn, and then pull that through. Make sure you've got all 3 on your crochet hook, like so. Bring it up and loop around the other wool there and pull that through your loop. This starts your chain. We've got the loop that you've put through the body of the pot and the loop that we picked up. This is your loose end with the tails, and you need to catch these on the first few stitches of your chain to tidy these away and secure everything. Don't pull this loop too tight or you won't get your crochet hook through, so bring it around. It's a bit tricky when there's this many. And back through your loop. It gets easier as you go. You can see I've not quite gone through all of them there, so that's through. We've now tidied away those tail ends, and now you just pick up a loop and pull it back through. Being careful of your tension as you go. I'm finding this a little tricky on camera, I'll be honest. And once you get the hang of it, it goes very, very fast. If you miss a yarn, like I have just there, I've missed the green one, all you need to do is very carefully pull the other two back through the loop, thread your hook back through and carry on. It's a little bit easier when you're not doing at arm's length to get around the camera. Once you get into the swing of it, it's quite engaging, and you run out of yarn before you even realise. When you're making the chains, you need to make them to the right length for the plant that's hanging. And this one is a trailing plant, so the height it is at the moment is really as high as it's ever going to be. So as long as the chain you've made, which will be meeting up in the middle, is taller than the plant, which it is by a good amount, and bearing in mind this being wool, the weight of the pot on that will make that stretch just a little bit. It's strong enough that it won't snap. So what you can do here is you can either tie off, which is where you loop round like normal, pull the thread through completely, and then just trim off the loose end, and that will give you a knot that finishes this. I want to pick these loops up with the new piece I'm going to put above to make this hang at the height that I want it. So all I'll do is chop off about here on the tail, and then we'll pick up another string in the same way. Our next challenge is getting the pot to hang properly, and at the moment it doesn't. And that's because our strings are all slightly different lengths. You need to make sure that each of your strings are equal under the weight of the pot. So I can see that this string is too short compared to these two. And it's much easier to shorten the strings than lengthen them. So I just need to reduce a couple of stitches out of these two until they're more in line with this one. Just using the same number of stitches when you make a chain doesn't actually make this work. You have to sort of play it by ear a little bit. And all I've done to check the length of the strings is I've threaded them onto the crochet hook and then held onto them together as I lift it, and that gives me a central point for each one. So I'm going to remove 3 stitches. Because it's a chain, you can just pull the end, and there we go. And now you can see this one is too long, which is the one I haven't shortened. So I just need to take a couple of stitches out of this one, and we'll see how that looks. So it's simply, you take the loose end here and pull and pull. Be careful when you do it. If you pull too hard, you'll just unravel the whole thing and have to do it again. Back on your needle, and that's much better. In fact, I think one more stitch and that should be even. Brilliant. The easiest way to join them all is take all the loose tails and crochet all the loose tails, which is going to be tricky. Sometimes you have to sort of manually feed all the loops over as you go. Once you've got them, it's not too bad. There we are. And I've done one normal chain, and I'm going to go straight through this loop and tie off when it lets me. There we are. So we tie off there like that, and then you can either just leave this as it is and you can hang this from a cup hook, but I want to make this slightly longer than it is. And we can treat this point where all of the meet as the point that we pick up the new thread. So push through all of the loops behind the knot and pick up whatever threads you're using. I'm using the same 3, I've got just enough I think, as you did before. And just like we did the loops for joining the pot, you pull it through, leave your loose ends here, and then come back through your loop there. And then as you work the chain, those loose ends will get tied in as you go, like so. And I'm just going to go until I run out of these colours, really. Oops. That's something else to be aware of. I ran out of the white back here, so I meant to tie off before I got to that point. And just undo the chain a little bit, and I'm going to go back down to the bottom where we started. I'm going to go back through my starting loop down here, and then just put one through and then tie off. Pull that tight. You can leave these long bits if you like. I may do that, I've not decided. But we then end up with a loop at the top which you can hang the pot on, and the 3 chains which support the pot itself. Let's go and find somewhere to hang this up.